Hey guys, welcome to another speed build. I hope you are all having a fantastic day and happy Friday to all of you. Today we are back over in Newcrest and I am building, yep, you guessed it, a family home. But it is a pretty yellow family home. I really wanted to build a really pretty family home using only the base game, and this is a little bit unique compared to what I normally do because I actually built it on a relatively large lake in the backyard, and so it is on a slightly bigger lot than it probably should be otherwise, and that is because I knew before I even started building that I wanted to have a nice big lake in the back. It's technically considered a pond because there's only one house on it, and it's not that large because lakes are typically large enough to have more than one house. But here in The Sims, that's impossible unless you build on like a 64 by 64 lot, put a massive lake, and then build several houses on that, which is a great idea. I actually did that once before. I never did finish it, but I started it. But I really didn't want to go that far into it. I just wanted to build one house on there. And so you guys tell me, is this considered a lake, a personal lake, or is this a pond? Because I'm curious. I think I know the answer, but I do want to hear from you all. But before I get into today's video, I would like to take a brief second to invite you guys to leave a like on this video if you do find it enjoyable, and also subscribe if you have not already, and share it with your friends if they're Simmers as well, and comment down below whatever it is you would like to comment, whether it's I absolutely love this build, I love this build, but I wish you would have done this differently. If you have any constructive criticism, constructive feedback is a better word. If you have any constructive feedback, feel free to leave it down below. If you have any ideas and tips and tricks, anything you would like to comment, go ahead, comment down below. I love to read everything you guys leave and interact with you guys down there. But yeah, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and talk about our build. So I am starting to develop the quote unquote lake that I was talking about. I know this is pond size and not lake size, but in my head, I'm going to be calling it a lake throughout this whole voiceover probably. So hopefully it doesn't annoy you guys too much. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned, but this is using only the base game. I love to do base game builds every once in a while. I know it's really helpful for those of you that don't have any packs, or maybe you're very limited in the packs that you do have, and so base game builds are so helpful to be able to download as like a start and then add whatever items you want with the packs that you do have. And I try really hard to make my base game builds as detailed and as pretty as possible, and I think I did a really good job on this house. I love the way this house turned out. I love the pretty yellow paneling, and the roofing on this house I think is super good as well. And we also have a wraparound porch. I figured if we're gonna have this beautiful lake, then we need to have a wraparound porch as well. I mean, you can't have one without the other, or else it's just not the same. We do not have a pool in this build, which is not common for me. I usually love to add pools, but I figured, you know what, I add a pool in every single build of mine. Let's do something different, and that's when I decided to do a lake instead. And this particular style of house, I think, looks perfect with a lake. It just is absolutely beautiful. On the lake, I end up adding a little gazebo area as well, and in the left corner of the lot where there is no lake, I end up putting a greenhouse, and then there's plenty of planter boxes and garden pots all around the lot, and we have a monkey bar set for the child that lives here. And I did mention this is a family home, so I'm going to go ahead and go over the exact Sims that I furnished this house for. This is definitely a full house. There is one or two parents, completely up to you. As far as the kids go, I furnished it for a child, 2 toddlers, an infant, and a newborn baby. So that equals 5 children. So if you have 2 parents plus 5 children, that is a total of 7 Sims, and that leaves you one space to be able to do whatever it is you want with. If you want to have another child, maybe if you have cats and dogs or horse ranch, you can add a pet to the household, really that additional slot is completely up to you. Maybe you want to add a grandma or a grandpa. Like I said, completely up to you. But we do have a total of 7 Sims, so it is relatively full as it is now. And I did say that I added 2 toddlers. They are twin toddlers, and they end up having the biggest room because they are twins and they share a room. So this ended up being 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. And so I thought it was perfect to have a set of twins somewhere, and the biggest room was the one that I chose, and I chose toddlers. I usually never do toddlers in general in my builds lately just because I love the infants, and I like all of the other age groups better than toddlers for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why. Toddlers just are not that fun to me to play with, and to decorate the rooms and stuff like that. I don't know. My mind just always go to all of the other age groups other than toddler. But with that being said, I did want to go out of my usual zone, and so I chose to do twin toddlers. And their room actually turned out super, super cute. All of the rooms in this house turned out so good. I really love the way this build turned out in general. We are actually starting on the furnishings now, and I don't go back outside until I'm completely done with the interior. I'm getting a lot better with jumping back and forth between the exterior and the interior. I'm really trying my hardest, guys, not to jump around so much. I know it gets a little bit confusing as you watch the speed build if I keep jumping around, and I personally like it better when it's cohesive and not so all over the place. But with that being said, I did start the landscaping outside, and I usually do that in the beginning just to get a good idea of how I want the exterior to look, and it helps me plan on which Sims I have on the interior as well. I kind of plan on what I'll be able to fit in the yard, whether I'm able to fit anything for kids or not, if I can fit some gardening supplies. And it just helps me plan overall, and it gets me a little bit closer. It makes me feel like I'm a little bit closer to being finished, if that makes sense. And so I just really like to get the head start on the landscaping in the very beginning of the build and then start the interior. I think I'm really starting to get a flow of what I usually like to do in my builds and how I like to build. Now, what room I start in on the interior kind of differs from build to build. It really just depends on what I feel like doing at the time. And here in this build, I ended up starting on the kitchen first, and I have the layout done as well as the dining room. It's kind of one and the same. It's a relatively large space right there and perfect for a kitchen and dining room. And I have the dining room up on a platform. I absolutely love to have that dimension that the platform gives. It makes it look so good and so detailed. I also put an oval island in the center of this kitchen. I absolutely love the way that it looks. I don't get to do this very often just because it calls for such a large space, but the way that kitchen was laid out just was perfect to have that oval shaped island. I think it looks so pretty. I love the kitchen. Of course, I'm using my favorite base game counters. I can't help it, guys. These are literally the best ones. All of the other base game counters just are not the same. And argue with me if you want to, but you know I'm right. I am so happy that they ended up adding those counters. They're relatively new-ish. I think we got them in the last year, maybe last 2 years. And so I just can't get enough of them at all. I love them. And they do have the open slots on the corners, and you'll see a little bit later in the build that I tried to find some decorations to put in the open slots, and I couldn't find any that looked good, and so I just ended up leaving it blank. If I had Snowy Escape or even Horse Ranch, both of those come with like plates in the clutter items, and I usually love to fill up those empty spaces with plates. And it just gives a really realistic look, and it looks cute at the same time. But like I said, I didn't have those in base game. I didn't feel like looking for like, you know, all of the little itty bitty clutter items that base game has to offer, because I kind of know already what base game has to offer and what it doesn't. And I know for a fact it has like cookie jars and a salt and pepper shaker, little stuff like that just wouldn't look as good in the empty spaces. I didn't want it to look badly cluttered. I wanted it to look neatly cluttered, if that makes sense. And so I ended up just leaving it blank at the end of the day. I figured, who's going to pay attention to that anyways? It's better to be blank than to be messy. I really did not want it to be messy because this whole build is relatively neat anyways. It seems like this family probably is a very neat family. If not, then at least the parents are. I could imagine one or both of them having the neat trait and really being on top of their kids about picking up after themselves and not leaving a mess behind and picking up their toys. I ended up putting a playpen / crib down here in the living room, and if you've watched me before, you know this is like one of my go-to things. I love how realistic it is, and it gives you a space downstairs to put your infant down for a nap, because infants need naps like every 2 hours. And so now you don't have to have your sim going up and downstairs all day long. There is a playpen right there. But I did not add a toy box or any blocks downstairs in general. At least I don't believe I added blocks. I might have added blocks, but I know for a fact I did not add a toy box. And that is because I wanted to keep it relatively neat. Just like I was saying a minute ago, I can see both of these parents, at least one of them, having the neat trait. And so having toys in the living room is like a big no-no. And so I ended up opting out of the toy box downstairs. I normally do that in a lot of my family builds because it gives the realistic aspect, but in this case, this is a neat household. We didn't want it here. But with that being said, if I played in this house, I probably would have at least a block set for the infant to play with downstairs. Which block sets are super easy. You can put them in and out of your inventory at ease. You can literally just pick it up and drag it into your inventory. And same with like the individual toys that you find in the toy box. And so that is what I would recommend if you like the storyline of these parents being like super clean. They have a lot of kids, but they don't like a lot of toys around. They don't like to step on Legos. And if you've ever done that in your life, you know how that feels. And so I could totally see these parents being like, oh, no, staying in your room at all times. But since there is a playpen down here for naps, the infant's gonna need something to play with, and so I would do either blocks or an individual like action figure doll sort of thing, and just drag it in and out of either the infant's inventory, if they can even have inventories, or the parents, one or the other. And then just put it back in the inventory when you're ready for the infant to take a nap. So we are actually finished with the living room. It came together really, really quickly. I added that really large octagon shaped coffee table. I love that coffee table. It's really cute and it's great for really big open spaces like that living room right there. And I also use the same base game couch as I always do and the same swatch I always use, but it fit this house, okay? You can't blame me. I do end up putting pillows on each of the couches though. And I did use the brand new pillow / cushion that they added in the recent update that we got this week. And I love that pillow. I love the items that they added. They're so pretty. I didn't use a lot of them in this build just because they didn't fit the aesthetic this build has to offer. But with that being said, I do love them and I do have builds in mind that would be perfect for those items. However, like I said, I did add the pillows and I just used the basic neutral swatch that it came with, and then I paired it up with the regular pillow that we already have in base game. Honestly, it's perfect for those of you that did not do the quest that we got. I don't even remember which one it was, but one of them we received a pillow. And so if you missed that quest, then you don't have that pillow. So that means that every time I add them in my builds, you don't have them. It's just nothing on the couch, which isn't a big deal, but it's kind of sad because they add so much to those basic couches that I like to use. And so now those new pillows came in an actual update, so you at least have those pillows. You have pillows in your game now, whether you did that quest or not, so I really like that. The only thing is that I wish they added more neutral swatches. They did add a couple at least, but for the most part, they have really, really extreme patterns, which I love, but they don't go with every single build. And so I really wish they would have added more neutrals, but whatever. Beggars cannot be choosers. We at least have another pillow in the game. But I am working on the master bedroom now, and I am using platforms. Once again, I just can't stop myself, guys. I absolutely love the platforms. And don't worry, I did play test it. You've probably seen my sim. I made sure that he could actually get into the bed. Sometimes the ceiling fan will not allow you to get into the bed if the platform's too long or high, I guess is the right word I'm looking for. If the platform's too high and too close to the ceiling, then either the ceiling itself or the ceiling fan that I like to use will not allow your sim to go up there. But you probably just seen my sim was able to go up there, so that's great. And they're able to get around that computer that's there. So this room, the build in general is completely functional. I am about 99.9% positive that I checked everything, but with that being said, I am only human, so I might have missed something. But I really try. I try to make sure my builds are as playable as possible. It's important for me. But I did put a master bathroom in the master bedroom as well, and it's pretty simple. None of these bathrooms are that creative. I really just did basic bathrooms, but I tried to make them look as good as possible. But they're functional, and at least there's that. And I'm adding the pillows that I was talking about. I know that one pillow that we just got, I used a basic neutral swatch, and it literally is just about the same color as the couch, but that's fine. I actually kind of like that. It's like almost exactly the same color, but a little bit darker, and I feel like it looks really good that way. And I also add a bench way later in the build, towards the end. I put a bench on the front porch, and I like to put pillows on the benches. I actually recently started to do that, and it adds so much detail to those benches. It looks so good, and it might be a little bit tedious to add these pillows, but you know what? It is so worth it at the end of the day. I think it looks so good. Not only the couches, but it makes the benches just look so much more detailed. So we are over into the kitchen and the dining room now, and I have the dining room done. It came together fairly fast. I really love the way that it came out. It's up on the platform. I used these curtains that I don't normally use. I actually forgot that they existed. I always tend to go to those basic white curtains because those are by far my favorite curtains in the game, even with all of the packs installed. They're just so pretty, so versatile. You really can't go wrong with those curtains, especially in the white swatch. And I typically like the ones that are not tied up, but in the kitchen, I use the ones that are tied up. But over in the dining room, I actually added a completely different type of curtain, and it looks pretty good. They match. They might be different, but they match. So I don't think it's completely, a complete eyesore. I think it matches enough that you can't even really tell that they're different unless you really look. Like, if I were to ask my husband, he would tell me those were the same curtains just because they're pretty much the same color. And they're both like tied. And so he would see the same exact curtain. He wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. So on the table, I usually always add like a bouquet of flowers as the centerpiece, but I really liked the fact that I ended up putting like a cake dish. I'm guessing that's pound cake. That is what it looks like to me. It is like a holder that you can put some sort of dessert in, and I put that on the table instead, and I actually really like that little detail. It looks a little bit more realistic, and it's different than I normally do. I always do a bouquet of flowers, so it was nice to have a change. The bouquet of flowers I tried to use were those purple ones. I love those. They're a little bit flat, which is a little weird. But I do think they're perfect for dining tables, and I usually always add them, especially in my base game builds. But they were just barely touching the chandelier at the top, and I didn't like that at all. I didn't like it. And so that's when I came up with the idea of putting that like pound cake dish there instead, and I just really loved that. I could so see the parents, this is almost like a farmhouse sort of house, and so I could see them making most stuff from scratch. and they really love to make baked goods for their kids, and they like baked goods themselves too, okay? They might use the excuse that they're making it for their kids when in fact they're making it for themselves. I could relate to that. I always say I'm making stuff for my husband when in fact it's for me. No, I'm just joking. It's for both of us. But I just like that little detail that they probably made that pound cake from scratch and they put it in this dish and it's the decoration for the table. Yes, food can be used as decoration. I know for a fact. Us foodies agree on that, I'm sure. On like a real note though, food can 100% be used as a decoration. There's not like a huge pretty food table at a party for nothing. You usually make your food table look really decorative. Like, I'm planning on throwing a Christmas party this year since we just moved into this house. I've never actually hosted any holiday on my own as an adult yet. I've never really had a good setup at my old house, and so it just never worked out, but this house is like perfect for it. And so I'm going to host it this year, and I'm planning on making a lot of different like super cute Christmassy like finger foods and hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that, and put it all on my island as like a little food spread. And I seen this recipe that it's like a cheese ball in the shape of a Christmas tree, and I absolutely love that. I'm either gonna do that or a cheese ball in the shape of a snowman, something like that. But that's just an example of how food can in fact be used as decoration. And honestly, it's even better than a normal decoration because it's an edible decoration. On a completely different note though, if you hear a banging in the back, which I know for a fact you did at least one time throughout that explanation of how I was trying to explain food can be decoration, my cat is way too smart for her own good. She knows how to open the door, and that's what she's trying to do. She's not trying to come into my office though. She's trying to go into the bathroom and chew up my toilet paper. Oh my god, I swear that is what is happening. My cat knows how to jump up and open the door. I have those doorknobs in my house that you grab and put down or up to open the door, you know? It's not the turning kind. You actually you can pull down on it and it opens the door. Well, my cat knows that. When I first got my cat, I lived in Tennessee. Well, I moved to Tennessee when she was a kid, and we lived in this apartment up in Tennessee, and that is where she learned how to open doors by herself. She is the smartest cat I've ever known in my life. And she used to do that. And how my apartment used to be laid out, it would go in like a circle. So you would have to lock the bedroom door from the bathroom. There was like a door leading to the bathroom. There was a door leading to the living room. And inside the bedroom, you could lock the door leading to the living room, but you could not lock the door leading to the bathroom. And so you would have to actually go into the bathroom to lock that door to the living room, or to the bedroom. I know, it's confusing. And so my cat knew, she figured it out somehow, that she could open those doors and she could get in. If she couldn't open the door from the living room, she could open the door from the bathroom, and she would go in there trying to bother me when I would try to take a nap. She did it all the time. And my husband, who was then just my boyfriend, would take videos of this little cat doing this. And I finally figured out that I could lock the bathroom door and then go in the bedroom and lock the bedroom door leading to the living room. And then she just would stand on top of the doorknob, just standing there, trying to open it, but it wouldn't open. It was like the funniest thing. Well, then we moved to another house in Tennessee, and the doorknobs were the regular round doorknobs that you just twisted, and that's how you open the door. And then my last house that I lived in Florida was the same way. Well, this brand new house we just bought, well, guess what? It has the doorknobs that we used to have in the apartment. And it took about a week, but she figured out how to open the door once again. And so, yeah, that's what I have to deal with. She knows how to open these doors, and you can't keep her locked out of any room at all. Luckily, she's a good cat. She pretty much just opens the door just to be a pain in my butt, and then my other cat goes in and chews up the toilet paper. He's the one that I'm trying to lock out of there, not her, but she likes to see my other cat get in trouble, I think. She's very smart, very, very smart. So there's the story for today's build. I always seem to include at least one, but I figured you guys, if you're an animal person, especially a cat person, then I'm sure you would have really enjoyed that story. So there you go. That is what I have to deal with. It's really nice, you know, trying to sleep at night and just hearing bang, bang, bang because my cat's trying to open some random door she doesn't need to go in. And then I wake up to half a roll of toilet paper chewed up by my other cat. I think they're doing it as a team, for sure. It's a team effort to get on my nerves. But anyways, I actually finished both the toddler's room and the child's room while I was explaining that scenario. And I love the way both of these rooms turned out. The only one up here that ends up having a platform is the kids' room, and you've probably seen that I did make sure my sim was able to go up there. I really wanted that space to be specifically for a child, but I really didn't like how you could see the railing to the staircase through the window. I despise that. I wish it was like The Sims 2 where you could add the railing on one side and not both sides. It just automatically goes on both sides. It kind of sucks. But since that is the case, I really didn't want to delete the windows. I really loved the windows being there, and so I ended up just making the platform shorter and then adding stairs leading up to it. It's just like 2 stairs, and so you don't need a railing at that point, and so it's just the stairs, no railing. And so all Sims of all ages can in fact go up in that room, and that's actually perfect for when this kid does grow up to a teenager. She's still able to go up there and use that bed. Then I included a computer in her room as well, so the parents, the child, they both have computers in their rooms, and I also have an additional computer in this hallway upstairs where the staircase is. I would have and almost added a chess table instead, but I ended up adding a chess table on the gazebo over the lake, and then I also added a chess table on the wraparound porch as well. So we have 2 chess tables. We didn't really need a third one up here in the hallway too. Of course, if you want to, you could always add it, but I feel like computers are like so useful, especially when you have so many Sims in a house. Right now, you might not need this one upstairs, but once those young kids grow up, you will be thanking me that I added that 3rd computer. Trust me. And then in the kids' room, I also added a couple of additional skill building items for the kid. I added the mental table as well as the creativity table, and I also end up adding some monkey bars outside as well to be able to level up their motor skills. So that should be touching every single skill necessary for the kids to be as smart as they can be. And I did the same for the toddler and the infant too. In the toddler's room, I ended up adding a dollhouse, which I'm pretty sure levels up their creativity or imagination. No, it's the imagination. And then the toy box is the same way. And then I added just the regular blocks, and you can level up your motor skill plus your mental skill on those blocks. And let's see, what else is there? Oh, of course, there's toddler potties both upstairs and downstairs. I added the big stuffed animal in the toddler's room as well so that they can level up their social. And the infant's room, you know, they pretty much only have their crib, and then they have a dresser, and I think I added a toy box and maybe a stuffed animal in there as well, and then some blocks, but they can always go over to the toddler's room and play with their dollhouse. Same with the newborn baby. I just added the crib with the dresser and some nightstands with some lamps. It's kind of just decorative in the newborn's nursery, and that's because what do you need in there at this time? Nothing but the bassinet. And so it's pretty much a clean slate for you to do whatever you want with once the baby grows up. And that is pretty much it for the interior of the build. We are now working on the exterior again, and this little gazebo, or well, no, this greenhouse right here, this little greenhouse, I almost made into like a shed at first, but then I didn't really know what to put in the shed. What I figured to put in the shed would have been exactly what to put in the greenhouse, so I figured it made a lot more sense to make a greenhouse instead. It's a lot more functional, and I just really like it. However, I only was able to fit 2 planter boxes in here and then like 3 of the garden pots, and then I put a table here with some like little decorative pieces. It's not actually functional. If you have seasons, I would totally replace that with the flower arranging table. Or if you don't, if you only have base game, then if you want it to be more functional and not so decorative, then I would recommend putting the workbench in there. Yes, that's not really anything to do with gardening, but it's something to be functional, and there's no workbench anywhere else on the property, and so that spot would probably be the perfect place for it. But I do really love the way that it's decorative and it has seeds on there. It looks like that is where they plant their little starters and maybe store their starters that they then plant in their planter boxes. Just a little bit of a little storytelling purpose there, I guess. And we also have a lot of the gardening planter boxes and garden pots outside too. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. This is definitely a gardener's house. I think it turns out really, really good. I tried to make it look as cute as possible and functional and as filled up as possible too. I really would have loved to have had the modular playgrounds in this build, but yeah, that's not base game at all. And so I ended up just putting some monkey bars. Better than nothing, I suppose. And I put a lot of gardening planter boxes mainly because there was literally nothing else to do, and I didn't want it to leave that blank. You know, there's a lot of bushes and hydrangeas throughout this build. I really filled it up with landscaping, and if you're a returning viewer, you know I don't like to leave blank spaces, and this build is no different. There's like a huge would have been blank space on the right side of this build where that oak tree is, but I decided to put like an additional garden area, and it's not a functional garden, but it's just bushes and hydrangeas, but it looks like it could have a story of being like a gardener's house, and they just have bushes and hydrangeas and flowers literally everywhere. It's better than it being blank, you know? If you have horse ranch and you really like to play with horses, that would probably be a good area to put the horse barn, or maybe a horse jumping track, or anything to do with the horses. That would probably be the best area for it. And you can just delete the tree and the bushes and stuff that's there. And then right outside of the back porch, I add a little like area with some gravel, and then I just put an umbrella table and chair set there, and then I add a grill. Really honestly, there's slim pickings here in base game. That is basically the only thing I could think of. At this point though, we pretty much are just focusing on landscaping, and then I'm going to start on the terrain paint. And so I really think that's all I have for you guys. That's all I have to say anyways. At this point, I'll just keep on rambling, and I'm sure you're probably tired of my rambling anyways. So I guess I'll leave you guys to enjoy the rest of this video on your own. I do have screenshots at the end if you are interested, so I hope you stick around for those. I really hope you enjoyed this whole build, guys. If you did, please do not forget to leave a like and also subscribe if you have not already. Share it with your friends, comment down below, do all of that fun stuff. I appreciate it so much. Any and every one of those things really helps the algorithm kick my video out to other simmers. And we're super close to 1,600 subscribers at this point, and I just cannot thank you guys enough. I just have no words for it. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I hope you stay safe, and I will see you all in the next one very soon. Bye, guys.